Okay, there we are. Welcome back, everyone. So tonight, my plan is to go through and look at some changes that I was planning on implementing in regard to the theming color API. So if anybody has been following my Twitter, that one up there, you will see a screenshot I posted last night where I showed the color differing just slightly when switching into dark theme. And ultimately, the reason for that is just to try and make things more accessible and more visible. This has been something that's bugged me since I think I first started contributing to the project, and I finally got around to trying to do something about it. So I got a proof of concept working, and I'd like to get an API actually put in, and then hopefully maybe kick some releases in the not too distant future. I know we just kicked one last week, but I'm trying to get in the habit of doing faster releases that are smaller, so we might give that a shot. But first and foremost, Hacktoberfest is upon us. So for people who are not familiar with Hacktoberfest, it is put on by DigitalOcean. It is an effort to try and get people more excited and contribute to open source projects. So for anyone who is watching this stream, you might be interested in C# or material design or WPF in general, or perhaps you just like my voice. I kind of doubt anyone's in that last category, but who knows. But for Hacktoberfest, if you contribute 4 pull requests during the month of October, you end up with a free t-shirt. And they are clear that it's the first 75,000 people who managed to pull this off. This is not a difficult feat. Specifically for repositories that participate in Hacktoberfest, they usually explicitly mark issues as with a Hacktoberfest label. Those issues are designed to be good entry-level ones. For people who aren't familiar with coding, there's a lot of these issues that are specifically tied to documentation. So people who want to go through and edit docs, if maybe you aren't a developer, great, you can still participate too. The whole idea is to get people more familiar with open source and contributing. So if that sounds interesting to you, or you're looking to contribute to open source, I highly recommend checking out Hacktoberfest. They do have signups are available now, which mostly boils down to email notifications and whatnot. As far as I'm aware, the only thing that you really need to sign up for is to make sure that they have your information so that they can mail you a shirt. So I've participated myself the last several years. It has been great. They do a wonderful job. I would suggest everyone find something that you're interested in, whether that be, if it's not C#, find your favorite, JavaScript library, and look for items that are either tagged Good First Issue or Hacktoberfest and see about getting involved. I do have an old YouTube video I did last year around this time, specifically about if you're unfamiliar with Git and the pull request process for submitting changes. You can go and check that out. And hopefully it kind of guides people in getting started there. So the other reason for showing this is the Hacktoberfest website has a dark mode toggle, and this makes me happy. All websites should have this button. This is wonderful. And you'll note something. The background is actually different. I haven't looked at exactly what they're doing, but you can see you've got like the B for Hacktober right here, right? And you go into dark mode and it's now up here. So they're doing some fancy swapping, and this is unfortunately kind of drives at the heart of that color theming issue that we were going to look at tonight. Is the colors that look good and have a nice contrast in light theme rarely also look good in dark theme. Occasionally they do, and a lot of times they don't, and it's really frustrating. So I'm sure if we spent enough time we could probably poke at this. I'm not sure if any of the other colors around this are changing. I think they're all just picked specifically because they have this. So for material design, they're, and let's just look at this. So material design, accessibility, right? Boom, a page I visit often. Right? Because we want our apps to be accessible, and specifically this is the one that we're going to be interested in here, right? Around the color and contrast. And so when looking at color and contrast, they've got some obvious examples here, right? So easy to read, right? On the left, underneath the pretty green do line, hard to read on the right. And it all boils down to the contrast between the foreground color and the background color. So in this case, there are specific requirements around this. So if you're dealing with large text, so big font, right? 3:1, and they usually recommend let's see, 14 point if you're bold font, 18 point for regular and up. This bold, I need to look a little more at how they define this, because some fonts are just naturally thicker than others, and I'm not entirely sure how to gauge what is bold and what isn't. But this is sort of the rough guideline of where large text would be, and small text would be anything smaller than this, right? And so where should that contrast be? So let's look at what I did, because I did some stuff. So this is the latest running app, and you'll note something about this color of purple. If I toggle this, and I tried to do this on Twitter with a GIF, and it always failed, and I don't know why, and I gave up. But you'll note this color purple here is slightly different when we go into dark theme. And so what's happening here is it's actually changing the brightness of the purple. It's trying to keep the same hue, but tweaking the brightness such that we can obtain a reasonable aspect ratio. And so we end up with something that looks a little prettier, and specifically around this text here becomes a lot easier to read, which is what we were going for. Okay, so how did this work? Or how is it working right now? Right, because obviously it's working in this guy. And so I literally just hacked this together. So this is hacked together proof of concept, just getting it going. So what I did, in the interest of backwards compatibility, the current extension method for set theme takes in a resource dictionary and an iTheme. I added an overload here that takes in a color adjustment, which this color adjustment we kind of briefly saw here. This is a little small. Let's go bigger. This color adjustment here has a desired contrast ratio, so that measurement between how well does my foreground stand out against my background. And we'll dive into that more. And then I have this, I don't know what to call it. I'm calling it a contrast. And I'll get into, this is currently unused at the moment, but we'll circle back to that in just a moment. I guess it's kind of used. There's only one thing to find. And so what it does is, if you have passed a color adjustment in, so this here, for people who aren't familiar with it, is just a null check. We'll go a little bigger again. This just checks, is color adjustment not equal to null? And then medium is the only contrast that's been defined. So what it does is it takes the mid primary color, right? And it calls this ensure contrast ratio. And it passes in the desired contrast ratio, which right now is just hard-coded to 4.5. So you will note that that lines up very conveniently with this 4.5 to 1 ratio of the material design spec. So it's just hard-coded to that for now for purposes of testing. And so it calls this method, and this method does two things. One, it returns back the new color that's been adjusted for you, and it also returns back the offset, the amount that it had to change that brightness, such that it can then shift the dark primary color the same amount and the light color the same amount. Now this guy here, let's look at ensure color. So this is where things started to get a little bit interesting, right? So these, oh boy, you know when you look at your code the next day and it looks ugly? That's what we're feeling right now. So these two checks here are basically just to make sure we don't get into an infinite loop. Basically, we can darken and lighten the color, but at a certain point, if we hit all the way white or all the way black, yeah, we're done, right? Like, I can't go any lighter than white, and I can't go any darker than black. That's pretty much the end. So what we do here is there's a couple methods that are getting added. And for those people who have seen my XAML test library, these methods should look very familiar. I blatantly copied and pasted. It's not plagiarism if you steal from yourself. But these guys here come from the W3 spec that the material design is based on. So measuring relative luminance and contrast ratio. Now, for people somewhat familiar with these algorithms, these numbers, specifically these three numbers here, should look very familiar to some people. So if you've ever converted RGB into grayscale, this is typically the algorithm right here to convert it. There is this arbitrary threshold here. I'm not entirely clear on what this is going to. I'm sure there's a white paper written somewhere that I just haven't read yet. But it does have a slight adjustment for if you get down below this 0.3928, right? Otherwise, it follows the standard algorithm for converting it. And then the contrast ratio is just, foreground and background, color 1, color 2. It really doesn't matter which one goes first. But then finding the relative luminance between each of those, and then dividing each by 0.5 and finding out the ratio between those. So the hard part with all of this is, because this is effectively a grayscale calculation, is how do you lighten up a color? The RGB color space, which is what the default WPF color element is, or an sRGB, is great, except for it's not good for color manipulation. Typically, when you want to do color manipulation, you end up floating into a different color space to do that. And so I banged my head against a wall for a little bit trying to find a simple algorithm to figure out how to do this, and ultimately came to the conclusion that there isn't going to be a straight one-shot calculation that can be done. Largely because in this, you effectively have to change to another color space, and the amount that you need to adjust is going to vary based upon different elements of the color. So, for example, the amount of brightness that you might do to a blue would be different than that of a yellow, for example. So what I ended up doing was effectively just a guess and check approach. So what it does is it comes in here, first checks the contrast ratio of the foreground to the background, and if it's greater than our target ratio, great, we're done. No offset needed. Just return, we're all fine, right? After that, things start to get interesting. So we come into here, and it starts checking to see, okay, based on the ratio to target ratio, do we need to go lighter or darker is the first question to answer. And it starts with 1, and then just basically binary searches back and forth. Boy, I'm blanking on the name. There's a fancy term in electrical engineering for a system that does this, and I don't remember what it is. And then it leverages the shift lightness method to adjust the color. So let's take a look at that. So this is something that's been released today. So this is using the LAB color space, which is a somewhat distant cousin to the what's called YCC or YCRCB color space. Specifically, the YCC color space was initially created for analog type inputs, so your color TVs, your old movie projectors, etc. And then it has since been updated for digital. So, for example, inside of like your JPEGs, the algorithm in there uses a modified version of it because unfortunately that one doesn't leverage the full 0 to 255 scale that's available. And so they adjusted it to account for that for digital media, which is what we have here. Lab is an updated version of that. So this method was written a long time ago when we first did the theming updates back in 3. something. And so it gave us a nice easy amount to effectively just adjust what's called the lightness of the color. So it converts it to the lab color space, adjusts it by some amount, and then converts it back to just a WPF color. So back over here, I'm sorry, here, and by here I clearly mean this method here. So here we don't have to concern ourselves with much, and then it just recalculates that contrast ratio and checks and says, okay, am I within some tolerance? So by default we end up passing in 0.1, right? That's how much contrast ratio we're going to allow. We could zero this in for tighter accuracy. I haven't played around with it too much to see what the effects of it are, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to write some tests and figure out where we need to be. And that's all there is to it. So the idea here, and specifically why I was doing it in this set theme area, is because I wanted to separate the color adjustment that was needed from the actual theme colors, because I could go through each of the theme brushes and just tweak them all, right? And just say, we're going to adjust by this amount, and work all the way through. And that would be fine, except for then if the user flipped back to, say, light theme, we would have lost all of those original brushes. And that just doesn't seem right. So what I did is buried inside of here, because I'm trying to avoid breaking changes. I'd like to not break everything. I have this hidden property. So on my implementation of iTheme, and I suspect most people aren't building their own iThemes. I could be wrong, but I suspect most people aren't. I'm just effectively caching the current color adjustment. So you'll note that over here, if you pass it a theme and a color adjustment, if that's not already set, it'll set it on that theme for you. And then more importantly, it'll either use the passed in color adjustment, or if there's already an existing one on the theme, it'll just pull that one off. So there is all of that. And then goes through and uses it. So then this contrast, and what is this going to mean? So right now, this is adjusting the mid color. So on our primary and secondary colors, we've got light, mid, and dark, right? So if you pick purple, you get some purple hue, right? And then primary light is a lighter version of that purple, and primary dark is a darker version of that purple. And so the question is if that purple is displayed on a dark background, should we adjust the mid color to have a contrast of 4.5 and adjust dark and light accordingly? Or should we adjust the light color to bring it to a 4.5, thus pushing dark and mid even further light? Or should we do dark? So that was the idea with these contrasts, high, medium, and low, to give you some form of control. I don't know where the happy place is going to be. Because it's also worth noting, the reason I named it low, medium, and high on this contrast is because in light theme, it's the exact opposite problem, right? Do you want to push the dark end to 4.5 or the light end to 4.5? One's going to push it a lot further. And so having this be intelligent about picking that end and doing the adjustment, I think is key. I had also considered going through and doing adding this beyond. So my initial thought is I'm just going to add this to bundled theme, because I suspect that's what most people are using. But there technically is another one called custom color theme, which is very similar, right? Except for rather than picking one of the predefined colors, you actually can set your own primary and secondary color. And I'm torn whether to apply this in here or not. I think I probably will. It probably makes sense. It's worth knowing that in some custom themes, you can you're going to be able to break this algorithm pretty easily. So you can imagine if somebody set the background color to like red, and I'm halfway tempted in this ensure contrast ratio to enforce that the background has to be a shade of it has to be on the grayscale, right? So your RGB channels are all equal. So that means it's going to run somewhere from white to black, but it'll be just in the grayscale. No channel is going to get precedence. The only part that scares me is I suspect that there may be some slightly off grayscale colors that people want to use where this algorithm would work fine, and it might be unfortunate to restrict it. The problem being is you can imagine if somebody set their foreground to blue and their background to red and said ensure contrast ratio. Well, that's going to start to get weird quick. And I don't think that's quite what you would want. So part of me is just like, well, I'll leave the API, and if people do something bad, they do something bad, so be it. And that's kind of where I was thinking and where I was going to go. That's where I'm thinking. Okay, so I was going to start with some testing. So for anybody who is interested, I will just show this off real quick. If you want to see, right now this is living in my fork. So for anybody who wants to see the code in its current incarnation or play with it, you may find it there. But let's start with, I think, some tests, because I think that's where I want to go first. Is ultimately I want to test by iterating over this primary color and then ultimately the secondary color, because that's another thing that could be done here too, right? Is this is only handling primary colors. Secondary would probably be a very reasonable thing to adjust as well, just to force it to be in that range. And again, opt in. If you want it, you can have it, which probably means, maybe I should put it on there right now so I don't forget. Public color selection, maybe. Why can I not type tonight? Okay, so we'll do a public enum color selection. This is a bad name because I want to do a flags enum, right? So we want, hey, come on, go find it. Thank you. Thank you, Visual Studio. None will be 0. Primary will be 1. Let's see, secondary will be 2. And then I think we'll do an all gets primary as well as secondary, right? And in general, I already don't like this enum name. Flagged enums generally should be named with a plural. Color selection all. Circle back to it. Okay. Oh, and I'm going to clean this up while I'm in here because I can. For those people who aren't familiar with it, latest version of C# in general is null is better than equals equals null, simply for the case equals equals can be overridden. Is null is syntactically equivalent to a reference equals null. Tests, that's where I was going. I can think straight. So let's do, trying to think of where's the appropriate place to test this. This is kind of tied into here. Let's go theme, I guess, and we'll create one. And we will do color adjust tests. And I'm just going to come over here and steal from one of my other ones, because it ends up looking something like this. Paste. That goes there, that goes there. Grab the output and make you public. Okay, so we will do, let's do a theory. So this is going to be an XUnit data-driven test. Thank you. It even figures out my misspellings. I love you, IntelliCode. Let's see. Public async task, because we're going to be doing asynchrony stuff in here. And we will call it primary color adjust to theme. I think is what we're going to do. Yeah, something like that. And then I am just going to come down here and steal some test content, and we're just going to pretty much throw away, yeah, pretty much all of it. We're going to keep the test recorder. So this test recorder bit here, this is just responsible for capturing screenshots. And I might initially just have this thing save a whole bunch of screenshots, regardless of test success or failure, just so that I can visually look at them and make sure that even if the math works right, that visually things seem like they're on par. Okay. So in the base class, we've got some like load XAML methods, but I think what I want to do is this guy here is what I'm wanting. So right now, the extension method that I've built for myself is just hard coding light, deep purple, and lime, which is fine until you want to change it. And I think now is the point where I want to change it. So gimme, we're going to do this, and we're going to just do an override here, and then we'll probably have one call into the other. So something like base theme. Sure. Let's see, base theme, and I think this enum has inherent light dark. Great, that'll work exactly as we want. Let's just drop you down because you're going to get hard to read. Primary color, primary, secondary color, secondary. That one, great. And so you now become, oh, you are not an interpolated string. Let's fix that. Be interpolated. Thank you. Base theme. Let's see, we will do, interpolation for the win. Primary and secondary. And I'm missing that. Okay, and I think what we're going to do is we're just going to clean this guy up to automatically call him. So, I'm wondering if it's worth, maybe what we do is we just set some defaults here, right? So base theme light. Let's see. Primary color. It was deep purple. And then secondary gets lime. Yeah, in general, I favor overloads instead of optional arguments. But in this case, it's an extension method inside of a unit test that's only going to be consumed from within inside of here. It'll be fine. Okay, so that now gives me this. So that'll get me there. I think all of this works because we're probably going to do create window. I think load XAML calls create window if I'm not mistaken. Let's confirm that. But I think, yeah, load XAML calls create window with and passes the XAML in and does all the work, which is exactly what we want. So in here, what we want is we want some override. Let's see. Protected async task visual. Actually, I don't know if I want a visual element. I think I might just want a task, because what do you return? Do you even return anything? Yeah, you don't. Is app with theme, right? I think this is what I want to do here, and then leverage this guy. And I think what we might do is I might actually just steal all of these defaults and just lift them up, right? Now I'm wondering if it makes more sense, because I'm trying to think of how I want to write this test, right? Because at this point I'm not gaining much over just directly acting on the elements themselves, right? So initialize with material design. Let's see, we're going to do base theme We'll do light, right? And we can effectively go through and iterate on these. My problem I have, I don't know if it makes a lot of sense to use any of these base methods. I don't know if it does. I think we just do it directly in the test. What do you give me that? Okay, so and I think here's what we're gonna do. Primary color, right? Because we're gonna make this a data-driven test. And for now, we're just gonna hard code it. All right, so we will stick with the purple because that's where we're going, right? And this guy will be primary, and then secondary color. For now, we're just going to stick with the lime because we have no reason to do otherwise. Actually, suppose in this case what we could do is I'm intentionally leaving the base theme set because I'm thinking we're going to want to toggle it back and forth. Something we have not built out yet. Okay, so there's that. Yeah, I'm also realizing we haven't exposed the color adjust to ourselves yet. So that's fun. That's exciting. Okay, let's see. Initialize with material design, await, app, create window width, and then this is where we need to put in our XAML. So I'm trying to decide what this XAML should look like. I'm thinking I just do a couple text blocks with explicit font size and just maybe put them in a stack panel and center it up. That doesn't sound that bad. So let's see. Stack panel vertical alignment gets let's see here, center. All right, I gotta double the quotes. Let's see, horizontal alignment. Guess it's not going to matter. We're going to do the horizontal alignment on the individual elements. So we will close the stack panel. And then inside of here, 1, 2, 3, 4, see text block. And we'll have text, and we'll do large text, right? And I think we will make this font size. Let's just be well above the threshold at 20, I think. Right? And remember that when this initializes with material design, or I should say with the window, it is going to very explicitly set up the material design font and some default element sizes. So we'll do one with large and one with regular. Let's see. Text, block, text, small text. And this guy, we're just going to do a margin, and we want to put a little bit of space between us and our neighbor. So I don't know, 40 pixels sounds great. Or, I'm sorry, 40 device independent pixels sounds great. And I think we should do horizontal alignment, get center. Okay, so this will get us what we need there. And I think what we do is recorder, save screenshot. And I think this allows for a, it doesn't allow, it'd be nice if I could give this guy, I'm going to add that. I'm going to add that real quick. It would be nice if the API allowed for me to give it more information for the image name. Issues, new issue, and this is test recorder, improve, Nope, I was on it. There. Prove save screenshot. It would be nice to be able to include a prefix or suffix for the image name to add some context. Something enhancement. Sure. I won't tag a good first issue. It's probably a simple thing to do if somebody wants to try and tackle it. I just can't remember off the top of my head what my API looks like and whether it should be a prefix or a suffix, and don't really want to look right now. So for now, I know it uses the line number, and I'm realizing that in a data-driven test, that might not be good enough. That might end up with duplicate images and one image overriding another, which would be exciting. So we'll deal with that at a later point. But for now, we'll just save a screenshot. Let's see here. So we got that. And then really what we want to measure is the contrast ratio between these text blocks and the background. So let's give each of these guys a name. Actually, this guy here will kick back visual element stack panel. Right, so stack panel get what is it? Get element, and then let's see if I can remember my own syntax. I believe it is slash text block, and I boom boom boom. That should get me the first one. Visual element large text. Right, visual element small text gets stack panel get element, and let's see. Oh, I don't want. Oh yeah, no, I do want to. I want to find the type of text block, and I want to grab it based on that. Really should add a documentation task to document up this syntax because it's a little obnoxious to try and remember. Okay. And then we want to get large text contrast ratio. Let's see. Gets large text. There is a. Oh, it's just in the color. So get foreground color. I don't know if this is going to get me the color I expect. We're going to try. Foreground. Let's see. Small text. And then we're going to call background, and then I believe it's get effective background. So this is sort of a cheater method that I wrote that attempts to get the rendered background. It has a lot of limitations. One of which is it won't handle things like gradients. But in the case of material design, gradients aren't really a thing. And so I just kind of hand waved and said, meh, don't care. But be aware that if you try to use this method for stuff where or even where something's been maybe transformed, it is not that smart. It literally just walks up the visual tree, combining colors as it goes, trying to figure out what is best. In this case, we aren't doing anything fancy. It'll work just fine. So it's a great 99% or I guess 95% solution, and then it falls apart. Okay, let's see. So assert is, I guess, assert true. Let's see. Color helper. Contrast ratio between large text foreground and large text background is at least actually we have this in a constant already. Material design spec. Look at that. Large text. So what are you unhappy about? Oh, the fact that I didn't await any of these calls. I'm very tempted to go and put the word async at the end of all of these. I'm normally not a fan of having async suffixes, but it's now bitten me enough times that I think I might be slowly converting. Let's see. Just type. Boom. Okay, so there's that. Semicolon at the end. And then we want to just change this guy here. Small text. And rather than this, we want minimum contrast for small text. Okay, so I don't expect this to, well, let me rephrase. I expect this test to pass, but I am interested in seeing the screenshot that gets generated from it. Musical bookworm. Does it have to be greater than or is equal to accessible? Just lurking by, always interested in some color math. So that is a good question, and I believe actually you are correct in that equal to, yeah, equal to would be acceptable as well. So I'm also realizing that I've got a bit of a problem here in that I expect this now to pass, and let's go and look at the screenshot it generated, because I expect that I didn't set any of the primary colors, that this guy is just going to end up being the dark, not quite black. So screenshots, WPF, theme, color adjust test. Look at that. And we end up with something kind of like this. Oh, that's interesting. It's screenshotted my primary monitor. Well, that's a bug. So you can see what my primary monitor looks like with OBS running. But it is good enough, since OBS is pointed at my secondary screen, to point out that the text is in fact using the Material Design Dark and not the lighter one. So while we're at it, let's just add a quick bug here too. So new issue. Test recorder. Let's see. What was it? Save screenshot. Always captures primary monitor. It should capture the monitor of where the active window is located. Primary window of the app. So this gets a little weird in multi-app situations, right? Of figuring out what to capture, because save screenshot isn't tied to an element. It's just an arbitrary grab a screenshot, and maybe there's an argument to be made that it should capture from all screens and just stitch them together. That's an option. Okay, so we need to change the foreground of these guys, because having it just be the Material Design paper brush is not good enough. So let's do foreground. And let's see. So standard dynamic resource, and then I believe it's primary, mid, foreground, primary hue, mid, foreground brush. But in our case, we don't want the foreground color. We want the actual primary color. So in the theming stuff, the primary hue brushes will contain your color, for example, purple. And the foreground brushes are set up to be accent colors, usually either a white or a black, such that they'll always show up nicely. So that's their intent. And so unless you set them, it will automatically pick one for you. Let's see, primary hue mid brush. I believe this is what we want to use for now. Because this is what I actually want to set. Okay, so I'm now torn. I guess my screenshot approach isn't going to completely work. So in the interest of being able to see it, await, task, delay, I don't know, 4 seconds, because reasons. Let's take a look at that. This way I get a chance to look at it right before it goes bye-bye. There we go. So large text, small text, and they both have the purpley color. And I assume the test passed. Yes, it did. Green circle. Okay, so that gets us going there. And I think that's fine. I'm trying to decide if I make base theme effectively a parameter here as well, right? Or if I just do light and dark inside the same test. The interesting part is I don't think I can actually call initialize multiple times. I'm fairly confident I can't, because it's going to spin a new app.xaml. I don't think it'll let me reinitialize. And as the author of the library, that makes me sad. Let's take a real quick look, because if I could reinitialize the app, that would save a little bit of headache. So let's go and look real quick at XAML test and see how initialize app is implemented. Because unfortunately, I don't remember my own implementation. Okay, so initialize app. Can you change themes after initialization? So the answer is yes. Within the app, you can. I would have to build out something to give me the API to do it. From my UI tests, I don't just have the initialization to do it. Part of me wants to test both cases, both the change after initialization as well as different starting initializations. Yes, it does track about whether it's been initialized and will blow up, which is highly disappointing. So I think we are back to your suggestion there, Musical Bookworm, of going through and giving ourselves something to reinitialize, or something to change the app theme. The question being, what is the easiest way to do it? I think the easiest way to do it is just to gen ourselves up a little window here with a button that toggles. Yeah, let's do that. So we're going to do samples, new folder, theme, and then we'll just create a new window here and do all the work. So the XAML test library, because I didn't want to deal with the headache of trying to send code back and forth between the unit test project that's running and the running WPF app, I gave myself the ability to effectively just send in arbitrary windows and controls and say, nah, I'm just going to feed you a window. I'm going to write the window inside my unit test project so I have, full API control of everything. And then it just works. So color adjust. Yeah, sure, that'll work. Color adjust window. All right, and so what we will do is we will do a little magic to make this thing line up. The designer I should turn off because it is going to be confused out of its mind here in a moment. No, don't undock the window. Bad Visual Studio. Stay there. I just want to close up the designer because the designer is going to do things like try to be helpful, and it has no concept that this window is going to be launched inside of another process. So that's fun. Sorry, designer. You're pretty good. You're not that good. Paste and what do we do? Oh, we've got too many quotes on all these things now because interpolated string, or I should say literal string, versus, you know, real content. But now we can leverage all the fancy XAML syntaxy stuff. So in the event that somebody doesn't like the fact that my XAML test library just takes in strings, you can write XAML, compile it into your unit test project, and use it instead. But that also seemed like a very heavy-handed way of doing it. And the only thing I don't like about this is it separates the UI being tested from the unit test, which is a little obnoxious. Didn't mean to give you more work. No. This is, I wouldn't say more work. This is probably better because I want to get to the point where I'm actually making sure that I build out tests for all of these features as we go, so that I can quickly release. Like that's the end goal. So, and I actually enjoy writing tests. I spent a large portion of my day today in my day job writing tests, and it was good. Well, I felt accomplished at the end. I don't know if it was good. That's to be determined. Okay, so basically the same window. I want to look real quick at the create window width because yeah, there's a few. Kind of want to just grab all this stuff, and then I want to grab that as well. So we want to put that in there. Let's see, height, width, all of you go away. Oh dear heavens. Okay, find and replace it is. Find me double quotes, replace with single quotes. Do it. Thank you. Thank you. And same thing could be said for these guys, but there's only a few of them, so we're just gonna quickly adjust them. Okay, and then I think the only thing left that I need is the create or the XAML namespace. So we'll just grab that, and I guess we'll replace the local namespace with it. And that should go there, that should go there, and that should now resolve. So we can find that. Material design body cannot be found. I know it can't. Trust me. This is dynamic research. You'll find it at runtime. It'll be there. I guarantee it. What are you suggesting here? Add row definitions, add column definitions. Thank you, IntelliCode, but no. No, I actually don't want to do that. Okay, so oh, I don't know if I have. Oh, I don't have my latest XAML test version installed. Hold the phone real quick. I released an update to this on the weekend, I think. Where is it? Oh, it's a pre-release. Did I not kick a full release? Well, that was bad of me. We'll take the pre-release. We'll take the pre-release because I'm pretty sure I want the 050. I will have to double check that and see why that's not a full release. But that'll be good enough. Most notably because that adds the extension method for create window generic, which is exactly what we want here. And so now I want to do my color theme adjust window. Nope. Color theme adjust window. Is that what I call it? Oh, just color adjust window. That's all I want. That guy. Okay, and so this is going to do a create window, and this is no longer going to be a visual element. It'll be an I window. Window. And I believe this still works, and this still works, and that should all just work. What are you? Oh, semicolon is important. Okay, let's run this guy real quick just to make sure that it all still, everything should be kosher. Should be feature parity with where we were a second ago. Should show the window, should be purple text. Huzzah. That's what we're looking for. Okay, now I think what we are going to do is we are going to just go give ourselves a wee little toggle that we can just toggle light and dark theme on just to make it go. That seems reasonable. Let's see. I kind of want to steal one of the little toggle buttons just for fun. Just for fun. Let's do it pretty like. Where is the toggles? I was kind of thinking one of these little switchy doodads. Yeah, something like this maybe. Yeah, something with the primary color in it. Is this the dark one? Material design switch. Yeah, let's do one of these. Grab that code. Boom. See, demo app is useful. It's telling when it's faster for me to open the demo app to find what I need. Let's see. Do not start as checked. Get rid of that tooltip. This is fine for that. We are going to need to reference a second resource dictionary. We will grab that in a moment. Actually, let's grab it first. So it's going to be window, resources, resource dictionary, resource dictionary, merge dictionaries, and then because I can never remember what the heck those are, I always just go and copy and paste them. So something down about toggles, and it will have the magical secondary resource for me. Oh, really? Do I not need to include any secondary resources for this? That doesn't seem right. That is almost never the case. Yeah, this is what I want. I want that, but I want the name of the one that contains, yeah, I kind of imagine there's errors here. Let's see, so it's the toggle button is the name of it. Great. So we go here, we paste this in, and then by convention, I change this from button to toggle button. And now it can find the magical style. Right? You resolved now? Excellent. Everyone's happy. Okay. So when this guy gets clicked, we are going to change the theme. So let's just add a click handler. And I don't really like the name of that. Actually, I guess I'm going to have to like it because it won't let me rename it from there. Try again. Let's see. How about change theme click? Great. And do you have... You don't. That's a little obnoxious. Toggle button from sender. Because normally I'd just use the is checked and bind it to something in a view model, but we're going fast and dirty here. So if is checked, we'll go to dark theme. Else we'll go to light theme. Oh, is checked is a nullable, isn't it? Yeah, it is nullable. Okay. Let's see here. So easiest way to get this, I think, is palette. What is it? palette helper. New palette helper. Get theme, right? Yeah. So I think what we're going to do is we're just going to do this. So we will store that, and I think I'm just going to move this over here, palette helper. So we'll grab the current theme, set base theme, and we will do base, what is it, theme. Where do I get the, there's a static on here that has light and dark. What is it called? Theme, oh, theme.dark. Only I could have divined that. Let's try this again. Hey. Why are you struggling to figure this out? Theme exists. Why are you struggling to find this? Material design themes, WPF is, yeah, that is a thing. I don't know why you're struggling. Oh, because there's a namespace collision. That's why. Okay, I get it. You're unhappy. Yada yada yada. Okay, so now we can click this guy, and he'll change the theme for us. That'll work. Okay, so I guess we'll just hunt him by type. We don't need to give him a name. Okay, so back to our test, right? So let's do I visual element theme toggle gets await window get element, and we will find the only toggle button on the window. Great, and then I think we will do await theme toggle click, and I somewhat suspect I'm gonna have to put a delay after this. We're gonna try it without, but something in the back of my mind is telling me that even though the click handler may finish and the theme brushes may get set, it may still be, they may not be applied at the point where we cycle back through to query them. So we may have to put a tiny delay in there. Let's not just duplicate all of that code. Let's see, static void assert contrast ratio. All right, so we'll just do that. That way I can just move all of this into a single function. And then we got to make you not be, let's see, async task. And so we will do await assert contrast ratio. Huzzah. We'll click the button. We'll assert contrast ratio again. And I think I'm going to throw in one more delay right after this just so that we can visually look at it. Let's try it. Let's try it, because then we'll iterate over all of the primary themes and, oh, oops. Just realized that checkboxes. Well, one, it's right in the middle, and two, that didn't change the theme. So that's a problem. So I'm thinking click is the wrong method. Was it check changed, or is check changed? checked. That one. I think that's probably the method we want. Because I'm guessing... Oh, starting the app is not the same as running a test. Let's try this one more time. Run test. And we should probably move that toggle so that it's not sitting next to the text. It's kind of nice that it lined up perfectly in the middle. Little confused as to why. Let's see. So let's do this. Time span from minutes 1. Well, I guess it doesn't. Let's just do this. I'm curious why my click handler wouldn't be firing. That interests me a great deal. So that guy doesn't appear to be finding something about this is not working. Let's see. If theme were null, it would blow up immediately, so we can be reasonably confident theme is not null. Base theme, if it were null, it would blow up there as well. In fact, this guy should probably have a null check on him as well. This can just be inlined, because I would rather blow up on an argument null rather than a null reference as soon as it gets down to here. So that's interesting to me. Huh? I'm confused. This is about as stupid simple as one could make it. Let's just jump over to the demo app real quick and look at this, because I'm going to be a little shocked if there's legitimately a bug here, because this is about as simple of a thing as you can make it. Let's see. So this is just default toggle button style. Okay, so the very first toggle button should trigger the event handler. Toggles. Huh? I'm very confused as to why this wouldn't trigger the code in question. Let me check the main window. Well, actually, let's look at the set theme, I guess, because this guy here is meant to duplicate stuff that's being done in the demo app, and let's just confirm that we did, in fact, mimic it. It's a little different. I don't know if this makes any difference or not. It shouldn't, but it's now bothering me that I might have two. Well, I guess one is the same as the other. They're both calling into this. Why would this one not trigger? Is it something with my XAML test library? That's a possibility. Okay, let's start with the bugs that we know about. Okay, so for starters, horizontal alignment left. Let's see, vertical alignment top. X name foo, and I just want to confirm if I have it generate a new event handler, it's identical in signature, so nothing fancy there. How about foo.text gets bar? All right, something simple and straightforward. Just to see if this thing is running. Let's see. Change this up to a minute, just so that I can see it work and or fail. I think I know the problem. It's late, and I haven't had my Mountain Dew. Okay. Click. My click handler is working. Okay. So that eliminates the click handler as the culprit, which means then that the issue is in the changing of the theme methods. We know when it calls get theme, it cannot return null. It must retrieve it. Now, I'd be shocked if it wasn't just pulling it straight out of here. Change that to an is null while we're in here. That guy checks application current. It would throw if it wasn't there. It retrieves the theme. Oh, so it modifies the theme object and then never sets it back. So that's probably the problem. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and assume that that is exactly the issue. That if all you do is modify the theme object and you never reapply it to the app, it doesn't do anything. That makes a lot of sense. Because the theme object is meant to just be a data object. So there we are, light. I'm guessing the assertion must have failed, given how quickly that closed, which makes me believe that I want to push you up. And if I check, aha, so what we see here is that when we did this, there was a failure. Yeah, so when we go into dark theme, the small text does not meet the minimum contrast ratio. And I think what I would like to do is fix this up so that I can do var small contrast ratio, because I think this should have a better message. And I believe this guy takes an overload. That takes a message, yeah? Yeah. Let's see. We're going to string interpolate that guy. Small contrast ratio. Small font contrast ratio. I cannot type tonight. Does not meet material design spec. Material design spec. Small text. Okay. I think we'll do the same for here because I'd like to get useful error messages out of these when they fail. Var large contrast ratio. Let's see, and this will be large contrast ratio, and then we're just gonna steal this message, put it in there. Let's see, large text, and then this will become, that becomes large, and something like that. Okay, so now we've got something reasonable. Okay, so now what we need to do is apply appropriate the color adjust is the next bit, right? So we want to actually fall into the case where we do something fancier. So right now, and I think I'm going to go to the demo app to do this, just to figure out what this syntax should be, because this is the API that I don't really know what to do here. So this guy has a color adjustment, right, which takes an object when the designer catches up to me. So this is a color adjustment object. Come on, figure it out. And this guy has a couple properties. Desired contrast ratio, contrast, and colors. So this is, I think what we're, I think I don't actually need, for the purposes of testing this, I don't think I need to actually change anything. I think I can just put this in directly. And more importantly, I'm a little surprised that that failed, because I thought I had hard-coded this thing in to just auto-set it every time. Because this guy should be getting a new color adjust simply by using the bundled theme. But my test failed. I am confused. So we're going to run it and use our fancy new error messages to see what the problem is. So we look good. We go dark. I guess I can change it from changing the text to bar. And so large font contrast. Oh, the large font contrast does not meet the material design spec. Interesting. Okay, so let's get rid of this. That was just testing code, so we'll throw that away. Get rid of that. Don't need that anymore. Okay, so you're fine. You're fine. I think now the question is this test and why it thinks that the contrast ratio is only 1.8. I'm a little curious to start. I'm going to tick this off to dark, which is going to break the test. But I'm curious if it fails on this first round of asserts before it clicks now, or if this is a bug with the theme change and something about looking up effective foreground and background. So if it, okay, so it's failing right out the gate. So it is something with dark. So it's interesting that it picked up a different number. It's very interesting that it picked up a different number. I'm surprised. I would have expected there to be the color adjustment to get set. Thanks. I think at this hour I do need the luck. So this auto property isn't used. This one's set to medium and never changed. This one's set to 4.5 and never changed. So That's great. I guess my first thought is wanting to look at, let's debug this test and look at what we're getting for background and foreground colors and just make sure that these are sane, right? That should probably be the first one. So thinking. Great. Okay, so background should be the same. 30, 30, 30, 30, 30. Okay, so that appears to be correct. Because the background color of this app is not quite black, but it is a dark color, which tracks. And then foreground should match 8A 59DA. 8A 59DA. So this got set. And this should have gotten passed in as soon as it applied the theme, which should have landed here, which should have landed me here, should have landed me here. The hard part with these tests is it's somewhat difficult to debug inside of them because this code is running out of process. So it starts a secondary WPF app that the debugger is not attached to. I suppose we could try to attach the debugger to it. It's actually not a bad idea. Let's try that. So if we just slap in a debugger attach right here, or a debugger launch, right? We just slap one of those guys in. And then, so we're going to stop this. And I think I'm going to set this to like big number. Yeah. Run test. And the reason I hit run test rather than debug test is this guy here, when you do the debugger launch window, I want this Visual Studio to be able to grab to it rather than starting a new instance. So I don't really need multiple Visual Studio instances. Could not copy. Oh, probably because it's still running. I'm going to go with that's probably the reason. Try again. Did it? I'm wondering if I killed it and it left an instance of it running. Let's see. Do I see an instance of XAML test running? I do. Die. Yeah, no, I got you. I got you. That is one of the unfortunate bits. Is right now the XAML test doesn't always clean up the process if you kill it directly. Okay, so it came in here. Does have a contrast. It does adjust from the original color to the new color. Primary dark, primary light. So, yeah, that's the new color. Set next statement. Oh. Unable to set the next statement. Okay. I kind of want to go back into it. Boom. Can I go here? Doesn't get me in again. Detach and kill the XAML test process. End task. Let's do that one more time. I kind of want to step into that adjust, because that seems to adjust and not go where we want it to. Stop the test runner. That task delay is going to kill me, isn't it? Run test. Boom, boom, and reattach. And let's go stepping inside of that. So it's executing all the code we thought. No, just go. Okay, so the initial contrast ratio they get, it's 2:8. Okay, great. And we realize that 2:8 is significantly less than 4:5, so we go and adjust. So the contrast that it should be getting, so it starts with an offset of -1. So it shifts it. And that gives it a ratio of 5:5, which is way over because it's trying to zero in on the target. So then it backs off halfway, right? So it goes divide by -2, so flips the sign and turns around and heads back the other direction. And this gives a ratio of 3:9, which is still too big. Or no, that's too small because we're targeting 4:5. So it flips and goes again the other direction. So we're now at -475. And that gives us 4.7, which is getting closer, but not quite. Same thing. Adjust by -2, shifts it, gets a ratio down to 4.3, not quite right. Again, binary search, go halfway and try again. 4.52, I think that will meet our qualifications. So 8A, 59DA. Let's see, which is definitely different than what we came in with. But it thinks that the contrast ratio between, what is background? Oh, the background that got passed in was black, not off black. Oh, that might be our bug right there. Okay, so the background color that it passed is wrong. Theme background. So this is about to set the background to all black. That doesn't seem right. Put a breakpoint here. I kind of want to look at my call stack now too. So this guy came in here. He created the theme up based on the base theme, which this guy should have called get base theme, which should either be dark, light, or inherit. And we're setting it to dark, material design dark. Oh, that's the problem. We're using the wrong brush. Material design background is not the appropriate one. Okay, that is a bug. So the issue here, if we go back to our test, right, we initialize up the app. And you'll note when we set up these windows, the background is expected to be material design paper, not material design background. So the color adjust code, see, this is why we write test. Test caught bug. This code should not be using theme.background. It should be using paper instead. So is it just paper? Yeah. So that should get us where we want to go. We can turn off the debugger launch now. Turn off the breakpoint. Let's see here. You can go back down to, I think I'm just going to do 1,000 just so we get a brief glance at it, but I think we're pretty confident in what it is. This can start back at light. I'm pretty confident now. Pretty confident. Compile. Come on. Come on. Oh, the app is still running. It's probably going to have trouble. Yeah, I do have an outstanding item on my list to go through and make sure that this guy actually properly cleans up any processes that he starts, because I know that he does leave them hanging. Yes, enable the fancy feature. I'm pretty sure I just broke the test by doing that. Yeah, thanks. You kind of interrupted my test. Okay, let's try this again. And there we go there. Dark. And it did not. So now we are picking on large font once again. I am confused once again because it should have, when it calls set theme, adjusted this. Let's run real quick. I'm going to put a breakpoint here and here, and I would like to debug this test at this point because I'm confused as to what it's getting. Okay, so let's just confirm what we're getting for brushes. Foreground 67, that looks right. 30. 3AB7. So at least now we're using the right brushes to compare with. That looks better. It's interesting that the large text, let's skip over that for a moment. Show me what small text ratio is, which is the exact same brush. I am realizing that I don't technically need 2 text blocks, because effectively all I'm testing is foreground color. They're both getting the exact same brush. It would make more sense to have 3 text blocks, one with dark, medium, or dark, mid, and light, and just look at those. Size of text. I still effectively need to do both of these checks. But yeah, I don't need 2 text blocks. That is completely wasteful. But we still have the problem of the theme changed, and I am wondering how, after the theme change, it was able to do that. So we are just going to do the debugger launch here. So you can go ahead and run. Stop running. Sure, great. Which unfortunately means you probably just hung the process again, didn't you? Did you kill it? Nope. End task. So we're going to put that guy there, because it seems like when it's changing this theme, it's not doing what I expect. So we'll just run this one more time, and then we will look at why. So light mode works. We go into dark mode, and we get a thing. Hi, I'm new to your channel. I want to start learning WPF from scratch. Already have C#'s fundamentals. Where can I start? Great question. I have a video I will link you to on my channel where I go through and cover exactly that. Let's see. I think if I just search simply budget, yeah, learn C# and WPF. This video here is where I would encourage you to start. So a couple comments I will make. If you poke on the internet, you will find there is a very strong following in WPF for something called the MVVM design pattern. So if you have any experience with that, whether that be from like maybe a web framework, you will notice that there is a lot of people that will heavily push you that way. You do not have to write WPF apps that way, but my personal opinion, it is well worth the investment. It is a learning curve, to be sure, and oftentimes the question comes up: why does this simple thing that I want to do seem so hard? But it is usually well worth the investment and can help make your code a lot cleaner. Effectively, it separates out your view code from the back-end code. But if you're just looking to get started and get going, you don't have to go the MVVM route. The other thing, so obviously I'm biased towards the MaterialDesignInXAML library because I maintain it. So a couple more links. So there's the MaterialDesignInXAML library. It's just a theming library because the default WPF theme, in my opinion, looks ugly. And then I've got a whole lot of samples just doing stuff with it. So if you're looking for some sort of simple getting started guides, there's that. And then the last one I will point you to, let's see, blogs. Is it blogs or blog? Can't remember. Blog. This one. Go Google. Find me the blog. As I have written some. It's a little bit older. There is a blog that I wrote in regards to getting started with MVVM stuff. Let's see. Yeah, so this is another good read, but there's the full link to all the stuff that I've written if that is helpful to you. So if you have any other questions, let me know. The other thing is Hacktoberfest is coming up next month. So if you are interested at all in getting involved in open source projects, I would highly encourage you to check it out. The short version is if you contribute 4 pull requests to open source projects, you get a free t-shirt. But the more important thing is there's a big emphasis during October for helping people out who are learning. So if you want to kind of dive into a WPF project, maybe the material design one, just to try to force yourself to learn by fixing bugs or working issues, that's how I learn really well. So if you learn that way, it's a great way to get involved and kind of force yourself to learn concepts and that kind of thing. So that's a whole lot of resources very rapidly. Hopefully that helps. Okay, so let's look at our theme object. So I expect that this theme, when I inspect it, has a color adjust on it. That is what I expect. Show me the properties. Visual Studio, come on, don't be mean to me. Oh, you just flat out, okay. We'll step. Okay. Gets me in there. Oh. Okay, so it's going to come in through the one where it explicitly sets null. But does it pick up a color adjustment here? Oh, interesting. So the internal theme does not have a color adjust. How is that possible? How is that possible? So I'm only questioning how it's possible because I know the initial set theme explicitly is passing 1. So this is guaranteed to have a new instance. Oh, my adherence to nullable reference types is creeping in. So that always sets a new one. There's got to be some logic here that I'm just missing. So this would come in. No problem. And like I said, if you've got any questions, feel free to drop in on my channel. I'm on every week at this time. Always happy to derail whatever plan that I've had to help somebody out with questions or examples of what you need. Like I said, check out those links. And if you've got questions or you get started, feel free to post them. My Twitter handle is scrolling by on the bottom. You can also hit me up there as well. Color adjust is null. So that's why it's not adjusting the color, because it's not getting a color adjustment. Okay, so that is why it is failing. Now the question is why? Why? Because we query the existing theme. Does this not work the way I think that it does? Okay, hang on. While I'm in here, I'm just going to clean these up too. That goes there. That goes there. Okay, so those go there. We call get theme. Get theme comes in here. And the reason why I'm confused is because the instance of the theme that was created should have gotten stored on the resource dictionary. It should have been set very explicitly. Oh, I wonder. No, that shouldn't happen, right? Okay, so hold on. Let's look at what bundle theme does. This does this dot. Because bundled theme derives from resource dictionary. So bundled theme itself is a resource dictionary. And you'll note it gets put inside of the merged dictionaries of application resources. Oh. This is a bug. How has no one come across this bug yet? So I'm pretty sure what's happening is when you set your app up following the getting started guide, the bundled theme gets set inside of the merged dictionaries, which adds all of the various brushes that you need and everything works and everyone's happy, right? When you toggle the theme, it changes it and applies it to the application resources, this resource dictionary here, one level up. Because when we call get theme, it's acting on application current resources. Let's just look here. So this guy has no concept of checking his merge dictionaries. Maybe he should. Maybe he should. So get color, what are you going to do? And this is the part that's really frustrating, right? Is all of these try get colors are going to work. Oh man. Well, hold on. How would the try get colors work and this not? How would that work? Because it maintains just confused as to how try get color still does the indexer operator. I'm now thinking that the indexing operator must work. Okay, so let's go back. We now know where the failure point is. We know where the failure point is. So let's go into here, and I am interested in looking at get theme now. So I want debugger launch to be more like there, right? And let's go check here. Did we leave a stray process running crazy? Nope, we have cleaned up. Okay, so run the test one more time. And then let's take a look at what getTheme is doing. Because my expectation is that getTheme returns me back the exact same instance that the bundle theme set. That is my expectation. Clearly, because it's not working, something about my expectation is wrong. I just don't know what it is yet. Come on. Step. Come on, Visual Studio. You can do it. Okay. It's convenient because that's where I wanted to go anyway. Take me into here. Okay, so this if statement, I expect to return true. It doesn't. That is why we are failing. So this guy fails to find... Okay, so this bundled theme doesn't contain the magical key. Wait, A1D blah 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 E47, right? Ah, wait a second. F4 E4. Okay, so let's take a look. I want to know what is inside this resource dictionary and why you did not find it. So here you have a single key. That's not right. Let's see here. And bundle dictionary should have some keys. And one of them, that isn't right. I'm a little confused. I kind of want to just look at what this returns. So immediate window, show me what that returns. Or native frame is blah 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 blah. Okay, so because we're running inside of a different app, we don't have direct access to it. That is a little disappointing, but we can work around that. I'm a little bit shocked. These are read only. How would the presence of one prevent the other? Because a static member that's read only is effectively created once for the life of the application. It is effectively a runtime constant. Outside of doing very mean things, there is not a clean way of removing one. It is interesting to me that the root level resource dictionary contains a single member. So this will be I assume the default themes. Yeah, so interesting that this dictionary apparently contains... We'll have to look at why it contains some of these other items. I'm not surprised that these keys are unable to be evaluated, because these are likely type keys for the styles. So it'll create an implicit style reference. So for example, a style targeting all buttons. And the optimizations are clearly breaking this, which is awesome. I'm wondering if I should be distributing the XAML test host not compiled with optimizations. just for a better debugging experience. I'll have to consider that. Like, there's already a weird case where the optimized thing is running unoptimized code and vice versa, but I'm wondering if getting that so that it's not running optimized would make it a little bit cleaner. So that is the problem. This guy is launched and brought in. The resource dictionary theme key that this guy has is different. Why? How would you get a different theme key? Or more importantly, this guy should be setting. Okay, so let's just confirm, right? So this theme instance comes in, right? Does a whole bunch of stuff, sets a whole bunch of things. It grabs the resource dictionary and sets the theme key. Right? So it should be set here. And then it should get retrieved here. I'm wondering if I want to catch this app a little sooner. And see about attaching a debugger to it. That would seem to be prudent. Because I'm trying to think of what is the appropriate way to check this. So all of this code in here gets run inside of a separate WPF app. You know, I'm kind of curious because this isn't happening in the demo app, which makes me suspect that this has something to do with the way. So hypothetical here, real quick, right? So these don't need to be GUIDs. These, in fact, should probably just be arbitrary objects, right? And I am just going to, real quick, hard code them to name of, let's see, current theme key, right? And then I'm going to change this to name of theme manager key, because I'm wondering if that is functionally the problem, letting them be runtime constants rather than effectively compile time constants. Yeah, because now they'll be the same regardless. And I'm curious if that fixes it. So, run test. Rinse, repeat, do it again. I'd very much like to solve this. I realize I'm bumping up to where I usually call it for the night, but reattach. Okay, so we are here. Oh, I attached with the wrong instance of Visual Studio. That's exciting. Okay, so we're going to call get theme. What? Okay, so this guy claims, let's look. So there's still a GUID there somewhere. Let's just confirm. Those have both been changed. So I'm less concerned about that. But I would expect that in the merge dictionary, I should be able to find on here in its keys current theme, key. And then likewise theme manager key. So both of those keys exist there. So I'm a little curious if... So this was able to look up the color based on the key, secondary hue mid-brush. But yet the resource dictionary in question doesn't have it. It's in the bundled one. What the heck? It clearly exists there. Values. I'm about ready to write something just so that I can look at what this value is. I am very shocked this is not... What's shocking me is that resource dictionary using the indexer, right? With a constant key, which is, in this case, a string, right? Here, it's unable to find something that's clearly in one of its merged dictionaries. But down here, when it drives into get color, right? Get color, try get color just does resource dictionary square brackets indexer, right, of key. What the heck? Okay, last attempt here. Let's change both of these guys here just to make sure there's nothing funky going on. And we're going to change this to const, and we are going to do that, right? Actual constants, no changing. Those are fixed. They're of type string. We're going to get out of this solution, so I stop using it because this is not the main one. We will build here. Check and see if I see no XAML test processes. Good. And then we are going to run this guy one more time. We will see what the heck this is going to do. Good luck in your bug hunt. It's almost 1 a.m. here, so I need to get some sleep. Sorry I sent you on a bug chase with my question about changing themes. No. This was good. Musical bookworm, and get some rest. It's almost 11 p.m. here, so I feel the tiredness as well. But ultimately, I do want to see this working. So thanks for coming and hanging out. It's always good. Okay. Run again. I don't understand. More importantly, I don't understand why it launched it on a different window. Sure. Okay, so we are here. Oh, we kind of wanted to look at... Well, this is now with the string constants, right? This is a string constant. This guy here should have it in his merge dictionary. I look at his keys. Should be in here somewhere. Should be in here somewhere. Current theme key. Step. Doesn't hit. So it's either not finding it or it doesn't think it's an I theme. Both are plausible. So what we are going to do, var current gets, right? We are going to just pull this guy out and look at him because I want to know if he's failing to resolve or if he thinks it's just not there. The other thing I am interested in looking at, debugger launch, is I would like to confirm this here that's being set. Yeah, because this is building up a new theme from the resource dictionary, which is at the root, which is fine, but when it does the set theme, it's now applying this to the top level resource dictionary and leaving the merged one. So we are effectively dangling and wasting resources. So this is something that should get fixed. Okay, so build, and then we're going to run this one more time. Because I want to see, because the only thing I can come up with is it doesn't think that it implements the interface. Because this theme here that's being passed in has to be an I theme. That's what the API is. There's no way around that. Yeah, I am confused. Okay, so we are here. We have a resource dictionary. We're about to add ourselves in, right? Okay, so we just added ourselves in. We exist. This is a non-null reference. Great. So I'm going to F5 that guy. Let him go. Okay, calls get theme. All right, so we're going to step into there, into there, into there. Pulls out current. What the heck? Current is a theme instance. What? What? I am confused.